what Jehovah's Witnesses could teach us. However, the churches have another problem which Jehovah's Witnesses do not. The 5 hours and more Jehovah's Witnesses give to their Bible study each week doesn't suffice to make Jehovah's Witnesses into Christians, but this form of diet does make them, if ingested faithfully, into loyal, undoubting, zealous missionaries for the Watchtower. The average churchgoer does not get at least 5 hours of teaching per week. The result, we manufacture Christians who usually are not zealous missionaries for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we make Christians who do have doubts, and who may not even know what makes a Presbyterian different from a Baptist or an Anglican different from a Catholic, and who would not ever consider themselves equal to teaching the Bible and doing missionary work. Our churches, in short, make Christians who are just as dependent on clergy and Sunday schools as Jehovah's Witnesses are upon Mother Watchtower. And how does this double dependence play out when a Jehovah's Witness arrives at the typical churchgoer's door? I have my own religion, thank you. That is far more often than not the ending of dialogue between two dependent creatures. The Christian, feeling inadequate to the task of evangelizing or simply not considering defending the faith his job, closes the door. The Jehovah's Witness walks away even more convinced than he or she was 5 minutes ago that Christians don't care to know the truth. And the witness is convinced that these churchgoers don't care enough even to share what they think to be the truth. The Jehovah's Witness, to put it bluntly, has been reconfirmed in his prejudice against the churches, against Christians, against the real Jesus. And we did it. We told him by our response to his missionary effort toward us that the Watchtower was right about Christendom. The people of Christendom don't love the truth. The churches don't love, period. And the bottom line is, there were 2 million Jehovah's Witness missionaries when I left the Watchtower in 1988, and now, 30 years later, there are 8 million Jehovah's Witness missionaries. Under the heading, why don't we make disciples who can disciple? There are, blessedly, thousands of Christians who would never close the door on a Jehovah's Witness. Yet our first 5 years among evangelicals showed Vivian and me very clearly why Jehovah's Witnesses are growing exponentially, doubling every generation, while the churches are struggling and even competing, at least in the West. Not competing to see who can church the most lost souls, but who can attract a larger slice of the found souls, the religious consumer. Beg the master of the harvest to send out more workers. That was what was Christ's response when he looked at Israel in the first century, when he observed that the mass of his fellow Jews were sheep without a shepherd. You cannot accuse Jehovah's Witnesses of being sheep without a shepherd. Each congregation has a number of elders whose job is to turn the sheep, that is the lay Jehovah's Witness, into one more shepherd or missionary. Jehovah's Witnesses and most cults have a different perception of what it means to disciple. The Watchtower, like most cultic groups, teaches that it is God's purpose and their main task to disciple their sheep, that they in turn might disciple others to more rapidly reach the world with their peculiar saving gospel. In other words, such groups have a sense of urgency about their mission. Do we in the churches consider that we are not only to pray the Master send more workers, but actually ourselves become the workers? Till we do, the cults will continue to grow, the mainline denominations continue to struggle, and more aberrant but so-called Christian sects be created. All because we do not disciple well. And we certainly do not make our first priority the making of disciplers. Don't miss the last R in disciplers. Next time we'll talk about the Bible in bits and the gagging of God.